Hello and welcome to episode 509 of Contending at the Water Cooler. I'm your host, Clarence Moy, and I'm joined by one other M this week. So, M, let's go around the cooler and tell the listeners who you are and where they can find you on the internet, and then we'll introduce our special guest. Joey.
Hi, I'm Joey Moser. You can find me on Twitter at JoeyMoser83.
And a special guest, the Contending correspondent, Frank. Introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Frank J. Avella, and you can find me on at FJAKLUTE.
Clute, because you're a fan of Jane Fonda.
That is correct.
Understatement.
Yes. And I was getting ready to say that I was expecting you to go more than a fan, but
Whoa.
And I am Clarence Moy. Again, you can find me on Twitter at Clarence Moy. So I must say that I very much enjoyed last week's Tony Predictions podcast, even though I did not participate, which is, I was telling Joey, Frank, I'm so glad that I did not join that podcast because I would have been woefully bad at these categories and really just not having very much exposure to them, not doing the research. And I probably would have done some research, but I would have gotten one thing right. But other than that, I don't know. But it was a great podcast. I just wanted to say that.
Thanks.
Thank you. And thank you, Joey, for having me.
Of course, I literally would not be able to do it without you. I can't imagine hosting that podcast and just get pinged to my friend and be like, hey, what the hell? that would be the total right reaction.
It was very fun. And of course you had, I forget his last name, but Dancing Dan on.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys did a great job. But last night was indeed the Tony Awards, and we are here to recap the Tonys, talk about the winners, talk about some of the major events of the evening and post the evening, and into today. The discourse continues online, of course. And once we're done with that, we're going to launch into an overview of a piece that Contending's Mark Johnson posted last week, where every Tuesday he does a Top 10 Tuesday post. And last week he did Top 10 Stage to Screen Adaptations. And, you know, everybody has their own opinions. I'm not faulting his opinions at all. Some things are very wrong. But I wanted to give all three of us the opportunity, maybe not in a post, but at least in a podcast, to list our own. Not his. We're not in the business of degrading his opinions, but we're going to give a different vantage point. How about that? Is that fair?
I like that.
It's not Mark's fault that he's straight.
Well, I am straight too, Joey.
I know, but yes. Yes, you.
Yeah, but Clarence, if I may say this, you do have a queer sensibility.
I do. I have. When I was fresh out of college, I went with a roommate of mine who was she was a female, and we went to Disney because she worked as they have the college program down there where some college students basically go down there and work at Disney and have hours and hours and hours of unprotected sex. And which she did. She went down there a virgin anyway, did not come back one. Anyway, she has a lot of gay friends, and we were down there going to some rides, and somebody happened to mention Chicago, and I'm like, oh, I know the Chicago dance. So I did the opening dance for them, and they're like, you're the only straight person I've ever met that knows that dance. I'm like, thank you. But it's so catchy. Anyway, so we're going to revisit that list. And then, of course, we'll close with a flash forward to the media that we're most anticipating in the upcoming week. Are we ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. So last night was the Tony Awards. This one was for the gays. In any shape or phrase of any turn of the phrase you would like to consider. I did love that story, Joey. I don't remember if you told me that one about the couple, the guy that was in the intermission of Death Becomes Her. I was like, oh, I laughed at that pretty heftily. Actually, I want to start with that performance. So I've not seen the stage show. That was a brand new take on that number for the Tonys, correct?
Yes.
It was like a lot of Tony Awards performances. They obviously cut the songs down, but I will say, as a person who loves Death Becomes Her, and I have been listening to that recording, it's a very well produced recording, I will say. I was really thrown off by it felt like they just cut every other line. I thought someone is mad at Megan Hilty and wants to make her job really hard. But yeah, it was.
Well, also, wasn't it strange? I mean, Jennifer Samard, hello.
Yeah, I wondered. I'm kind of thinking about that a bunch today, and then I thought, did they not?
Okay, so the Tony Awards is like another example of the Tony Awards. I think the Tony Awards is like the best, most honest award show around, and it is the award show that is the most attuned to its own identity of what kind of award show it is. And I will say another thing to go along with that is that the stage management crew of that show is always unbelievable. And I thought to myself, I was like, what other number could they have done if they did? Like, they could have done Tell Me Ernest. And I was like, maybe they didn't want to trot out Christopher Sieber and do all the set pieces. And I was like, well, it's just a couch and a table and chairs. Maybe I don't know why they wouldn't do it. Maybe they thought it looked weird without, any of the other things behind. And I was like, but the only other song that they could do maybe that didn't have like a ton of effects and stuff would be the ballad at the end. And they probably didn't want to do that. But I don't know if it's, they've been trotting out for the gays a lot.
Yeah.
Lately. So yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Frank.
I was just going to say, I agree with you. And I think they could have done that last number because everybody knows the plot, basically. I don't think it would have given that much away. I just found it strange they did for the gays, considering the Tony Awards are supposed to be courting Middle America and the tourists. And that was bizarre.
They've given up on that. They've given up on that. That's not happening.
I thought maybe the reason why they did it was because it is one of the musical numbers that does feature a lot of the ensemble when they're not wearing like band-aids for costumes, because there are some scantily clad, like the most. I would feel so self-conscious being in that company if I looked like that. I was like, well, I can't eat anything for the rest of the time because the whole show talks about like these people are so hot and like they're all, that is probably one of the most attractive companies I've ever seen. Maybe they didn't want to do that costuming, and so they thought, we got showgirls, we have chorus boys, maybe that is a little bit like Middle America appeal despite it being real faggy.
Well, they are putting Megan Hilty through the ringer, coming in and out, changing costumes, within probably 30 seconds, from Liza Minnelli to Victor Victoria to Dorothy. I don't even know what else there was up there, but it was a lot. There was a lot going on in that number. But I just wanted to clarify that it was indeed different than the produced version for the show.
Yes, slightly.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And it's also very sped up.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, you mentioned to me that you thought the whole show felt like it was on fast forward, like everything felt too rushed. You were saying.
I thought the first 20 minutes, especially, everything felt rushed, and this, people have been complaining about the sound, but that sort of settled after a little bit, I think. I thought some of the musical numbers, I was like literally reaching for my remote. It was like, does my remote have the capability to put on 2x speed? I didn't think I could, but I thought they were, really worried about that end time, which they went over anyway. So,
and what was the cameraman doing with most of the musical numbers? I mean, I got busy.
I thought I was on like one of those like 3D rides, and I was like, and he was just like, I love Sunset Boulevard. I'm going to make every number like Sunset Boulevard.
One thing that I found a little bit distracting about the introductions of these numbers, the music started in the middle of the person who was introducing that segment's speech. So I always felt like you're going on too long. You're being played off stage by the number that's coming in behind you. And maybe they just wanted a graceful segue, but that was one of the things that did not work entirely for me. But overall, I would say, as someone who has not seen a single show that was nominated, I thought it was a briskly entertaining 3 hours. I mean, Joey, I totally agree with what you said. They know their audience. They know what they want to represent. It was entertaining. It had surprises. It was, there were some of the major categories were interspersed throughout the evening. We didn't have to wait to the end to get all of the performance categories or the So I just thought it was incredibly well produced, and I thought Cynthia Erivo did a good job as an MC. I would not necessarily have pegged her for that skill set, but I thought she was. I think one of the things that really helped her was the fact that Alex Edelman, not Edelman, Alex.
Is it Lackamore?
No, he
That's
had
that.
I'm blanking on his name. He had that HBO stand-up special that I loved last year.
That is Edelman.
Yeah, that is
Edelman. Okay,
yeah.
it is Edelman. Okay. He was writing backstage, and I think he's an incredibly funny person. So I think that helped quite a bit. What did you guys think of Cynthia?
I liked Cynthia. I thought she did a nice job. I liked that, I love that everything was started out really kind of understated. And then, of course, as I said that, they brought out the Tabernacle Choir or whatever that was. And it just was so unnecessary. But the one thing that annoyed me was the In Memoriam. I think Tomorrow was a really inappropriate song, but that's just me.
And to sing it twice.
Yeah.
But then it closed in that really touching moment where Gavin Creel's picture came up, and there was some emotion on stage, and Cynthia reached out to hold somebody's finger, and it was sad. Yeah.
Did you like Cynthia, Joey?
Yeah,
I did actually. I was so impressed with how relaxed she was. Maybe she just felt very at home in that room. Like if she's obviously met Oprah Winfrey before, I assume. But I noticed it like really full out in that bit. I was like, if you can stand in an aisle next to a seated Oprah Winfrey, whether you think the you get a car bit is tired, in that moment I did not. I was rather delighted by it. I don't know. She just sounded so. I love that she went up to the balcony. I thought that was really, I don't think I've ever seen a Tony's host do that. I liked her opening number. I like Ariana DeBose quite a bit, but I kind of preferred what Cynthia gave us.
Yes.
I think I'm the only gay man on the planet who does not like Ariana DeBose, and she did not deserve that Oscar. Don't get me started.
Ooh, shit.
Okay, we're not going there. What I was going to say about Ariana DeBose was she's hosted 3 times, and this is going to be a theme probably throughout this podcast. I did not like the subtle shade, and in some cases not so subtle shade that was being thrown her way by people saying, "Oh, it was so interesting to have a former host in the company of a, in the chorus of a production number." Like that.
Okay, that's stupid.
It was stupid, but I saw multiple people saying that, and it had nothing to do with the fact that she's not as popular now as she was 3 years ago. She just got her start in Hamilton, and she was in the company of that cast, and she was doing exactly what she wanted to be doing. That was strange, I thought. A strange reaction.
Yeah, even as somebody who doesn't like her, I mean, I would never say something like that. They were all doing what they did 10 years ago. It made sense.
Yeah,
exactly.
I will say just a note on the Hamilton thing. When they were like, we have a 10-year reunion of Hamilton, and I was just like, great. I was just like, oh yeah, I remember that show. I haven't heard of that show because it's just been so, a part of our social consciousness for literally the last 10 years. I was really cynical going into that number, but like, I don't know how you guys feel about Hamilton, the show to begin with, but I was really surprised by sort of like how exciting I was to see it. I don't know. I was really, I thought that performance was great. I was really kind of floored by that.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was very energetic. It was the right kind of punctuation that you needed in midway the 3 hours to kind of get the blood going again.
Yeah. There was the part when you see Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it made me want to see the musical again. Now streaming on Disney Plus.
Well, it was like the tour is coming back here, and it was here a year and a half ago, and it was like literally on Saturday when we went to go see. We just saw Kimberly Kimbo again, and I was looking through the program before the show started, and like right before the show, before the lights went down, I was like, "Oh fuck, we gotta go see Hamilton again." And then, but now after after seeing that number, it's like, "Yay, we get to see Hamilton again!" It was, apparently, very strong, very flip-floppy reactions for me on the show.
There we go. Other highlights of the show before we kind of talk about some of the winners and some of the surprises in the wins.
I was just surprised by some of the choices that were made. Like, I am the biggest Dead Outlaw fan alive, and they really could have chosen better. Mincemeat was entertaining enough, but they could have chosen better too. I was just really, really surprised. Floyd Collins, on the other hand, I have to say, had I seen that clip prior to seeing Floyd Collins, I would have ran out and bought tickets. I did not like the show, but I thought they did a really good job.
I like Floyd Collins. I've noticed, I've always been a fan of that show. It's like a weird, like I discovered it in college. It's like Adam Giddle hasn't done a lot of musicals, but I mean, like, that music is so strange, and you really have to like adjust yourself to sort of understand what that show is doing. But I thought Jeremy Jordan did a really good job, and I'm somebody who doesn't like him. Guess he's unsubscribing to our podcast. But
he looked good in that. He did a great job with that performance.
Yeah, he did. The thing about him, he's one of those people that can just sing anything. He opens his mouth and it's just like, okay, his voice is insane. I actually, Frank, I was going to tell you that I felt bad because I know how much of a fan you are of Dead Outlaw. And actually, if I had to, that performance was my least favorite performance of the whole show.
It was so sad. It really was.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to seeing it do something, seeing it, performed live. So I've been listening to some of the music, and I like some of the music. I think I said last week I like David Yazbek, but yeah, I was a little bummed by that. I thought I was gonna like Dead Outlaw more than I would like Operation Mincemeat, but it was completely flip flopped.
And
go ahead.
It didn't seem to fit, and you can tell me whether or not this is the way that it's staged in the show, but it just, the very sad performance number did not gracefully mingle with the reporter information that came after, with the reporter saying, "Oh, we're the $6 million man. We found this bones and this body," and it just didn't seem to mesh well. Is that how it is in the show?
No, they copy and pasted. I don't know why. I think they just wanted to feature Julia Nightel, and so they threw her in, and they wanted to feature all the ensemble members, so they kind of threw them in willy nilly. But no, the show makes a lot more sense than what you saw.
Okay. Very good. Another major highlight for me is a performance that I found very complicated when I was watching it last night, and I have rewatched it a couple of times this afternoon. But I think I'll hold that for our conversation about Best Actress in a Musical.
Okay.
All right. So let's get to the surprises. I think the major thing to me that sort of made my jaw drop was the fact that Oh Mary did not win Best Play. Thoughts?
I'll let you take this one first, Joey.
So I was thinking about it. I think I was really, I don't want to say surprised by the haul that it got on the nomination morning. I think I just really bought into the excitement of it. Being there and being what the show represents, and this kind of show being such a show of the year, massive success in the times that we're living in. But Purpose is a Pulitzer Prize winning play. I guess we should not forget that. From what I hear, is doing well, and has a pretty good reception. But also, I think it comes down to
the idea of just what the shows are, like if you look at them on paper, and Purpose is a much more, I mean, what it premiered at Steppenwolf in Chicago, and it's, it's about, a family living in Chicago, reuniting, and then you put that maybe not against something like Oh Mary, is delightful and is tickled and is how much I love everything Cola Scola touches. You explain that to somebody and they're just like, okay, that's a little weird. That's a weird show. Sure. Like delightfully weird, beautifully weird, welcomed weird. But I don't know if maybe something a little bit more traditional was there for the day. Maybe that's what it is. That's what I sort of settled on. But I don't know if you guys would agree with that.
I actually do agree with that. First off, all 5 of these plays are extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. John Proctor is the villain, and Oh Mary and Purpose especially, but all of them, are. I think it was a matter of Oh Mary isn't serious enough. You know how the AMPAS does that all the time. Purpose it's a complex, super dense play. It's extraordinary. Really delves into really serious themes, and Oh Mary is there to make you laugh a lot. I'm not dismissing it. I'm just saying, I think in the end, I don't know, the Tony voters want to be seen as more serious. That's my guess.
I think certainly in this intense political climate, nominating an entertainment that is beloved and is celebrated, but giving that best play would be a strange thing, I think. Maybe that's kind of what they were looking at. And they understood that it is what it is because of Cola Scola and their talent and their performance and their driving force behind this whole production. And so I wondered if the voting body thought that they could just recognize Oh Mary by recognizing Cole.
I'm glad Sam Pinkleton went direction too. I realized, I was looking back on it, earlier today, and I was thinking like comedies get nominated, but comedies don't really win a lot here. Like Stereophonic, Leopoldstadt, The Humans, The Inheritance. I think the last like comedy. I mean, you could probably something that they might not view as serious. The closest thing might be like Cursed Child, but that's like a really big technical achievement. But maybe like what is it? Vanya and Sonia and Masha and Spike is probably the last. And so it's a Durang play. So I mean, that's probably like the last like comedy that is won here. So Cola Scola, excuse me, Cola Scola has been viewed as it is their work, their sort of current magnum opus. So awarding them, maybe they view that as awarding the show. Yeah.
And what else was going to win direction of play? I mean, because they liked Hills, they liked everything else, but nothing else won except for Picture of Dorian Gray. Am I wrong? English, Hills, and John Proctor went home.
Yeah, they got nothing.
Yeah, they went home empty-handed.
Go ahead.
No, I just feel like, females are always fucked in this category. It's okay that I said that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And
Joey says it multiple times.
Yeah. And Danya Tamor deserved it this year a lot more than she deserved it last year. So, I think she was my favorite, and I feel like a bad gay saying that, but.
Well, talking about females getting fucked in this category, what happened to Felicia Rashad? I mean, you have the Pulitzer and Tony winning Best Play. She wasn't nominated for direction.
Because the direction was the worst part of Purpose. It was. I'm sorry. It just was.
I heard from friend of the pod, Kevin, who told me, I think he heard, I don't know this, I would have to find an article, but they said something along the lines of Felicia Rashad was very open to saying in interviews that it was a really sort of collaborative process of the direction. And so maybe they view that as not like a sort of director vision.
but maybe that's it. But I actually thought I had forgotten that Felicia Rashad was not nominated because wasn't direction announced after play?
Yes.
Which I thought, like, the order of the awards was very strange. And then and when O'Mary lost play, I was like, oh no, it's O'Mary is gonna lose direction to Purpose. And then, like, before the category started, I was like, no, Purpose isn't nominated here, so maybe it does win, and it did. But so I don't know.
There's a really long extended scene in the play that happens at a dinner table a la August Osage County.
Mhm.
And the way she directs it, if you happen to be in certain places in the audience, you cannot see reaction. I was so frustrated because I had a really good seat, but I had to sit there for like 25, 30 minutes and not see Carrie Young. And that was driving me insane.
Wow.
So I walked away thinking, Felicia Rashad just did not do a great job.
So, other surprises of the evening.
Can I just ask, did you guys get the weird feeling during the I call it the pre-show, but Act 1, that Buena Vista Social Club had a chance of like really dominating?
I actually started the thing that I thought to myself was like, oh man. I was like, okay, Death Becomes Her is really only gonna get like one thing. And I actually thought, I was like, yeah, this might actually be more of a battle between Buena Vista and maybe Happy Ending.
Yeah, I think, Joey, you and I were talking about that. Like, it just seemed like the reception to it was so warm, and it was winning so many things early on. Certainly felt like the audience, at least. Well, when I started watching it right at that moment, and because I was a little late starting it, and then I saw they got the standing ovation, and I was like, oh, well, maybe this is the winner. And then, like, almost every performance got a standing ovation. Almost every winner got a standing ovation. They were a very standy crowd.
You're very excited. Broadway is back.
Yes, Broadway is back with a 20-something% increase in ratings for the Tony Awards.
Oh yeah, it was huge.
Yeah,
suck on that, Oscars.
I think Francis Jew, which I think Joey, I think you predicted Francis Jew. I think he was a surprise.
Yeah, and that was a guess. I can't even say I'm smarter. I threw that out there. It was that was nice. That was a surprise. I know, Frank, you were bummed that Conrad didn't win, and I would love to see. I would have loved. He looked a little disappointed. I felt so bad for him.
He did, actually.
Yeah. So,
well, you have to think that all of these performers and these creatives, they hear this narrative that O'Mary is the. I think Dan said last week, or maybe it was one of you, but someone said last week, it is the show of the season, and everybody's talking about it, and everybody, the prices for it were so expensive, and everybody wants to see it, and they just kept that buzz going, and it just the little engine that could throughout the last season where it was off Broadway, and then this season where it was on Broadway, and so you have to think it was the favorite to win the performance and the play, for sure.
Yeah.
They did not go in that direction. You all picked, I'm just looking at the performances. You all got direction. You all got book, score, or it was
Sadly.
at least the majority. Oh, come on now.
No, I have to say that I saw a lot of people. I like maybe Happy Ending. I've been going back and forth between a lot of these nominees. I was doing that this morning when I was cleaning around the house and stuff. And I kept seeing a lot of people, like my friend Kathy, who lives in Colorado. Let me find the exact text that she sent me, because she and I have gone to New York together. We used to watch the Tonys together all the time, and she would always send me reactions to the Tony Awards performances, and she sent me specifically, as soon as maybe Happy Ending was done performing, she said, "What the fuck was that?" And I was like, that was I mean, someone who likes the show, and I like that song. That's the song that I was just like, what is the camera doing?
Yeah.
It looked like a spin-off of the Harry Potter play with the guy with the firefly on the wand tip, and I was like, okay, I get what you're doing. And I kind of wish they would have picked a different song. I think her songs are better than his songs, but I feel like they wanted to get Darren Criss to perform, and that's like, the soft, lovely. Well, the whole show is like soft and lovely, but yeah, I think that was a song, the show that I kept seeing everyone saying that it would have been hard to perform any song from that show to sort of get the vibe of what it is. It's a show you have to kind of see the whole thing. I don't know.
If you stay awake. No, I'm sorry. Now here's okay. You know what? I actually really, really liked Maybe Crappy Ending. I did. Okay. But then other shows came along and steamrolled it, as far as I'm concerned, like Dead Outlaw and Death Becomes Her.
Yeah, I was gonna call you out on that because your review of it last fall was very positive.
It was very positive. Yeah. And I came off of it feeling like really nice. And then I forgot it the next day after I wrote the review. Like, it did not stay with me. There was no bite to it. I think, that's my issue with it. And that's my thing. I need a musical that actually has something to say. And I don't think it really had all that much to say.
Crappy.
Sorry.
It's funny.
I obviously haven't seen it, but I do call the Tonys out on sort of I'll just go ahead and call it sexism here, where they obviously found 6 male performances for leading actor in a musical, and they couldn't find that 6th slot for Helen J. Shin, the star of the show that won the most Tonys, who was not nominated. I mean, and I understand that's an incredibly competitive category, but you found 6 slots, and to include James Monroe Iglehart for a show that barely anybody remembers. And I'm not faulting his performance. I've seen him perform in Aladdin years ago, and I think that he would do a wonderful Louis Armstrong. But why couldn't they find a 6th slot for Helen J. Shin? I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, they make the argument though that it was a tie happened, and that's how that occurred. I'm not justifying it. I'm not justifying it at all. I think you're absolutely right. It's like, come on.
Yeah, they should have. As much as we laugh at the Emmys, I mean, if there are enough, there's a rule where if there are enough performances to justify 6 slots at the Emmys, then, both male and female will get those 6 slots.
Yeah. They did it with leading actor in a play too. There were 6 that they chose and only 5 for leading actress.
But even leading actress in a musical has been the category that everyone knew was going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
And I defaulted that to have 6 slots because that's been talked about all season. So that is the weirdest thing where it's just like, oh, okay. I really wish it would sort of default to what the Emmys does. If one gets it, you make room for the others.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this category. Let's talk about this. This I think could be a meaty conversation. So if I had been on this podcast last week, this probably would have been the one category I would have gotten right, because I have not. The only time that I ever wavered away from Nicole Scherzinger for Sunset Boulevard was about 5 minutes before they announced the category, and they indicated that Oprah was going to be presenting it. And I was like, well, there's no way they're bringing in Oprah to give it to Nicole Scherzinger. Like they're bringing her on because I know Oprah's a huge fan of Gypsy. There were lots of videos when it first opened that she and Gayle King came to the production and then held the cast afterward. And they took all these videos of her standing on the stage and talking about the momentous occasion that, the momentous production that they have put on. And she just was going on and on about it. So I thought for sure Audra McDonald had this locked up. And there goes Nicole.
Well, and the way the broadcast was going, it was like, okay, they gave Scherzinger the early slot, which she fucking slayed, and they gave Audra that key slot right before the award is. Yeah, so I was sure that it was Audra at that point. Even though Sunset Boulevard winning Best Revival gave me a little hope.
Yes, that and Gypsy was not as well received as Sunset Boulevard. I mean, it didn't get direction. No. It only had 5 nominations. Sunset Boulevard had 7. Sunset won 3.
Just lighting, yeah.
But did you expected it to win more than that, though, Frank? Is that right?
Oh yeah, no, I had it winning. I think it should have won sound design. And it also should have won orchestrations. And Buena Vista took that. And that's where I got really nervous. And I said, okay, wow, we're going into gypsy mode now. And I'm so happy I was wrong. Yeah. Yeah.
So how did you two react? Because I know you both, well, no, Joey, you predicted Audra, and Frank, you predicted Jennifer Simard.
Yes, and I predicted Jennifer Simard because I refused to put Audra's name down, and I was too nervous to put Nicole, and that's the truth.
Right. So what do you think? Well, obviously, Frank, you have posted on the site today a very well-written and heartfelt reaction to this. So I'm going to go to Joey on this one, if you don't mind. If you have something else you want to add, please feel free to jump in. But you've had your say on the site. I'm going to go to Joey with what did you think about Nicole winning leading actress in a musical?
I mean, it's very well deserved. She's. It's sort of like. I mean, I saw the show in December. I mean, that's only like 6 months ago, but I was so. I will admit that I was very skeptical about that production. I said it to Clarence on and off ever since it came out. Whenever it was on the West End, I was just like, I don't get it. Like, I was just sort of like, I needed to see it, and I'm glad that I did see it. I remember, like, she just blew the fucking roof off the place. I saw it at a matinee on like a Saturday. And like that was an entire experience that I was like, the theater was so dark. Everything was just melded together really well for me. And I've listened to that show a lot too, ever since I saw it. I think it's a very well-deserved win. I will admit that since I didn't get to see Gypsy because I was there for the dreaded Gypsy sick week, our performance got canceled. And I think it's so interesting that these two performances really going head to head with each other. Sunset Boulevard is a much riskier big swing as a show as a whole. But then if you look at this production of Gypsy, the reason why you see Gypsy especially this time, is because Audra McDonald, because it is an audacious take, just because of the person who is playing the part. A Black woman has never played the part on Broadway. So I thought that was a sort of interesting thing going up against each other. Now, I'm sorry, this is very long-winded, and I'm so sorry, but it was like the leading into Gypsy debuting, I think I had the same, not qualms that everyone had. I was like, okay, that score is not something that Audra McDonald would normally do. She has high soprano range. And I was really kind of blown away by what she did at the Tony's Awards. It sort of felt like her emotions were really sort of like ripping through her singing. And I was very excited by it. And I felt very, not weird about it, but I was very surprised at how I felt watching that performance, that song, which I've seen a million times. Trust me, the amount of times this little faggoty college musical theater kid saw the Bernadette Peters one. I watched that so many times. And it was like, I am so happy that Nicole won, because that really was, for a lot of people, the performance of the season. And that was the performance of the trip when I saw shows in New York. And I was like, that was sort of far and away the best, my favorite performance. It sort of like haunted me a little bit. And I was so surprised at my reaction of Audra winning. I don't want anyone to think that I don't think she deserves it, but I think I was just so immediately surprised by my reaction to Audra McDonald that I felt like a tiny bit of disappointment. But it's just sort of like, I thought about it later and it was just like, this Nicole Scherzinger has been playing this part West End. She's been talking about it nonstop. I actually would feel bad if that show would have gone home without some wins. It didn't repeat the Olivier wins, all the Olivier wins that it won in the West End. But
I don't know. It was it's fine. It's such an incredibly deserved win. She was so emotional after she won. It was incredibly well deserved, and it is the performance of the season. Sorry, I'm just rambling now, but that is the performance of the season, and I'm glad that that performance did win because she was incredible.
So
Frank,
I had
me in the face.
So Frank, I have a
Yeah.
question for you.
Please.
So I was watching this Audrey McDonald performance,
Mhm.
and I had only seen 15, 20 seconds. I've never seen her version of this. That was my first exposure to it. And I was taken aback by it in a way that I was like, why is she so over the top? Why is she so big? Why is she screaming so much? And then kind of when we get to the back half of the song, that's kind of where there's such naked emotion in it that it made me feel really bad for her. I mean, it made me like, it haunted me. And I watched it multiple times today, and I've just become more adapted to it. I think I was just unprepared for how much of a takeoff it is, a departure from the way the role is traditionally played, which I understand is necessary. So my question for you is, it made me want to see the rest of the show. Is she that different throughout the rest of the show? Because it's almost like she's taking kind of a Ma Rainey sensibility, like Ma Rainey's, the film, and molding that somehow with the role of Rose.
That is what she does, and don't get me wrong, she's absolutely astonishing in this role. She acts. I keep saying to people, she acts the shit out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I said to some people in the room, I know she's going to do Rose's turn because that's the strongest moment in the show for her with the emotions and also vocally. My issue, and a lot of other people who were in the room last night, is issue with Gypsy and Audra's performance was that her voice is just not that conducive to singing that particular score. So sometimes the songs sound awkward, and that takes you out of it, unfortunately. But it is a powerful performance. It's important because it's about race without being about race, and that's what George C. Wolfe wanted. Audra keeps saying that a lot of people are saying, oh, they're changing, the book. They're not changing the book at all. That's how Arthur Lawrence wrote it. Mm-hmm. So, and her performance last night was absolutely extraordinary. All of that said, what Joey said, what I think you also said, Nicole Scherzinger's performance in Sunset Boulevard defined the season. It was the performance of the season. I would argue, and this is from somebody who's been going to the theater since my parents took me, I think the first time I was 5, I would argue that it's one of the greatest performances I have ever seen on stage. Obviously subjective, but and now I'm going tomorrow night for my 4th time.
Wow.
I would love to see that after she wins that. Like, geez, I've never seen like a show on Broadway after, the high of them winning like that. That's going to be like so thrilling to watch. Cause that production, at least for me, it is like I remember walking in, like I came in, I got my little glass of wine. We, my husband's very tall. So we were sitting on an aisle, and we like crept into the theater, and there were a decent amount of people in the theater by the time that we got there. It was like near quiet, and the theater was like really dark because that's what they're doing. Like, it's a really dark space. And something that I did say that I was really impressed with, that I don't think I have seen because of like, I think we're like row N or P or something on, towards the back of the house. And I've seen this performance on like TikTok a million times, but people should really look at Nicole Scherzinger's like carriage while she's performing just even that song. I'm sure she does it the whole thing. It is such a fully physical performance in a really unexpected way. Like her arms, the way that like her arms are like flexing as she like reaches out towards the end of that performance on the Tonys, I was like staring. It was just like this purely physical like thing. It's like the sound is like being ripped out of her body. So it's I don't want Frank to think that I didn't think that she deserved it.
Oh no, not at all. Because it is apples and oranges. But you're so right. It is such her embodiment. She's channeling the silent screen actresses of the teens and the 20s. She's channeling Gloria Swanson. She's channeling her own self as a pussycat doll. It's so much.
It's kind of astonishing, and I'm sorry I keep talking about it. It's just like it's sort of like the way that I thought about it after I saw it, and the way that she just lingers on stage. It sort of is like we are watching like a ghost completely come to life, and like she realizes maybe that we're there, and it's so haunting. And it's so impressive. So it's sort of like a ghost given new life in a weird way. And it's you're not ready for like the ferocity that she's gonna hurl you. Just think about the ending right now. I just got chills.
Oh my God.
There was at one point I like leaned over to Jason. I was like, I'm scared. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. And then when you see what's going on, you're like,
I was like,
is that really going on?
Yeah.
Clarence, what I would say to you is you need to get your butt to New York City before July 20th.
I know. My wife just mentioned it to me today because we're theoretically plotting a trip to see some things in the fall when I turn. I turn 50 in July, and that's going to be my 50th birthday present, I think. And but she was like, "Do you want to go see that?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know. I don't want to go in the summer. I don't want to. It's just bad timing. There's just too much going on." So I'm disappointed that I won't get to see it, but it's okay. Hopefully they, as she said, there's talks of turning it into a movie.
That would be amazing. And Glenn Close will hang herself.
Glenn Close will, she will have a.
Maybe she can play Max. She can play Max. Like she would do that. Like Max. I'm not saying that as a read. She would.
No, she absolutely would.
Terrifying.
Yeah. She's played a man before, sort of.
She has.
Yes.
I want to be cognizant of time here, but because I do want to get to the stage to screen adaptations. But any other thoughts, reactions, anything else you guys want to cover from the Tony Awards last night?
For me, nothing else mattered. That was the moment. And to have Oprah say it, and to have Oprah say it the way she said it.
Sure, saying, ah.
Yeah, I know it couldn't have been more perfect. And yeah, I mean, as I say in the analysis I wrote today, Nicole Scherzinger has a Tony Award.
Yep. Joey, other things from you?
Cola Scola, everything. And it just seeing them run to the stage like that was the most talk about happy pride. Mentioning Grinder on CBS at like 10 o'clock. Love it. So
Love it.
I did want to ask Joey, was Cole wearing a Bernadette Peters dress?
When Bernadette Peters won.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
I will say his not to be like super gay. Well, why apologize now? But his he had cunt to your nails and she did. Just saying.
Oh, and I'm sorry. I know it was a very gay show, but like Harvey Fierstein. What the fuck? I mean, he was so brilliant, but like they couldn't have showed a clip on the broadcast.
I know.
Oh my God.
I want them to do a like just a 2-second, like a 3-minute montage of the stuff that also happened before.
They used to do that.
Yeah, they used to do it at like the commercials and stuff.
Yeah, or they used to. Yeah, if there was something big that was happening off screen, they would show clips from it, or they would at least introduce. I remember they used to introduce, or at least make them stand up or something like that. Like this person won costumes, this person, because most of that stuff was off camera. Yeah,
and she got to introduce the the education person because, he was who won the Tony, and Harvey was like literally across the aisle. She could have acknowledged him. That pissed me off.
Well, the last thing I will say is when I was closing the book on this last night, I was thinking to myself, who is the person in the world that is most damaged by this win of Nicole Scherzinger's? And I think it has to be the Avella production and Rachel Ziegler, who now has to live up to that and now has to go stand out on a balcony in over the theater and sing "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina" while everybody in the theater has to watch her on screen.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little on the difficult side. Henry and I are going to try to get to London to see Avella if we can in August. We'll see if that can actually happen.
The probably the gayest memory that I have of Clarence is when you know exactly what I'm going to say. Clarence and I were in New York for a day to go to an event for The Gilded Age for HBO. And we got to our hotel, and I think it was we had some time to walk around, and we stumbled into a record shop, and I don't even have a record player. I still don't have a record player. And we both found original vinyls of the original Broadway recording.
You found it first, and then I found it, and then
you found it, and then I was like, "Give it to me."
I gave it to you.
Yeah.
And then I found another one, so we both went home with original LPs of original vinyls of the Lupone.
It's on my desk. Jason keeps asking me. He was like, "Are you gonna buy a record player?" I was like, "Probably not. I just like having it."
Look, when I was, I grew up in a very isolated environment in the country, in the middle of nowhere in eastern North Carolina, and this was everything to me. This is what, when they talk about, your dreams and all those things that people say on that stage, that was me back then. That was me seeing a part of the world that was as foreign to me as Japan or China, just a completely different experience. And, Andrew Lloyd Webber was my thing back then. And, loved Avella, loved Phantom of the Opera, all of that. I don't know. I just have always. I just love the music. I love the emotion I love conveying emotion through song. That's why I love musicals so much.
Avella had a profound effect. Avella and Sweeney Todd. Again, my parents took a little boy, and I didn't necessarily know what I was seeing with Sweeney, but with Avella, it blew me away. My mother knitted a shawl for Patti LuPone, waited outside the stage door, and handed it to her, and had this big Italian bonding moment. It was insanity.
That's fantastic. All right. So let's jump to, as I mentioned before, every Tuesday we do a Top 10 Tuesday piece. And this past week, in the week leading up to the Tony Awards, we had the 10 best stage-to-screen adaptations. And this was Mark Johnson's list. And for those who have not read it yet, I will say, let me just list the titles, starting with number 10, The Odd Couple, My Fair Lady, 1964, Glengarry Glen Ross, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, Philadelphia Story, 12 Angry Men, A Streetcar Named Desire, the Brando version, of course, West Side Story, the 61 version, Sound of Music, and Amadeus. And kind of what made me think about maybe there should be different perspectives on this topic was someone wrote in the piece, and then I recognized, I just read this for the first time today because I've just been very busy for the past week. Where's Cabaret? And I'm like, well, it should be number one. And I pinged Mark and I said, hey, you forgot Cabaret. And he's like, no, I didn't. I don't like Cabaret. Yes.
Okay, the gay gasps.
Yes, I was.
Pride Month.
I was clutching my pearls too.
Oh my God. Mark Johnson, you have made an enemy.
No, we're not criticizing. He has a different take on it. And then we were talking about
that's not a criticism of the list. It's a threat.
Okay.
And a promise.
I'm sorry. It's just very easy. Take Cabaret and place it where Amadeus is. Thank you.
Yes.
I mean, it is. I do think it is the best. I do love Amadeus too, though. So, but Amadeus isn't number one. We were talking about it, and I was saying, I get it now. So the way that you feel about I feel about Sound of Music is the way that you feel about Cabaret, because I think Sound of Music is one of the worst musicals I've ever heard. But that's, a controversial opinion. It's America's greatest, whatever. How would you change this list? Frank, you had mentioned that you had taken notes. What notes do you have?
I did. Honestly, I would maybe retain 4 of his, maybe. Philadelphia Story, Streetcar, My Fair Lady, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, maybe. But like, where is Lion in Winter? If anyone has seen that recently, what Anthony Harvey does with that film, he takes the stage elements, and it's just a work of genius. So's Sidney Lumet's Long Day's Journey into Night. Where is that? Where's You Can't Take It With You? Where's Hair? Where's The Little Foxes? Where's Chicago?
Little Foxes. Oh.
Right? Where's Night of the Iguana? And as a gay man, I have to say, where's Crimes of the Heart, Steel Magnolias, and Agnes of God? Yeah, and maybe even On Golden Pond. There are too many, and I didn't even scratch. These were literally off the top of my head as I was on the treadmill. I didn't do any of the normal, Wikipediaing I would do. It's a great conversation starter, but I feel like there's just so many really, really great adaptations that are not on the list.
Well, these things are meant to be conversation starters for sure. Joey, what would you add to the list?
Yes, I'm not personally criticizing his list. My different perspective, Cabaret, Chicago. I saw Chicago like 8 times in the theater. I was so obsessed with it. Chicago. Talk about that's a good relatively recent, screen adaptation. I echo a lot of stuff that Frank says. Even stuff like I love Streetcar, Virginia Woolf. I love Virginia Woolf. I even say some stuff that I know not a lot of other people are as
Evita.
Evita. I'm okay. My little little nugget is that my dad loved Madonna because he liked how she didn't give 2 shits about anything. And he, I didn't even know what Evita was. I just knew Evita had Madonna in it. It was based on a musical. I loved Phantom of the Opera as a kid, same composer. I saw it and I was like, I didn't know any of the music. That 2-disc CD soundtrack was very worn down. I did a report in school about the recording, not the movie, about the recording, because I am what? Yay. Okay, so sorry, go on. Other adaptations that I really like that I know maybe some other people, I really like The Shape of Things. I'm a Neil LaBute fan. I like the adaptation of Closer a lot. I like maybe not the best directed adaptation of a play, but the text of, I think, Doubt is really well handled in the film adaptation. I think Meryl Streep should have won her 3rd Oscar for that, but whatever. And actually, this isn't a movie, but for me, it was a huge achievement. Angels in America. That was a pretty landmark mini series. I'm glad that they didn't, cock that up. Even something is, I like the remake of West Side Story. I like Tick Tick Boom.
Tick Tick Boom is so good.
It is so good.
Amazing. And
that's a great directorial debut from Lin-Manuel Miranda. So yeah. So,
and when I look at something like this, I have to think about what is the level of difficulty in translating something like that to a screen? Chicago is a review essentially, right? But they had to form a story around it. So that the putting those musical numbers in her memory or in her imagination was a great touch. And I know it's not, entirely original, but it just really flowed incredibly well. And it, opened that world up for this very luridly stylistic approach to the material.
Yeah.
Which was very different than the stage show.
I was so obsessed with that movie.
Yeah.
I remember being I think that was 2002. So I just graduated high school and I remember seeing it with my dad, and I was like scandalized that they just flipped the order of Cell Block Tango and When You're Good to Mama. And I was that invested in it. I was like we were in a packed theater, and I'm like, oh my God, they changed it. Oh my God, they changed it. And my dad was like, shut the fuck up. Like no one cares but you. Like, all right.
Frank, you were going to say something.
No, I was listening to Joey mention all these films, and I forgot some of my favorite Altman films or adaptations, like Streamers and Come Back to the Five and Dime and Fool for Love, are all really, really great, I think, adaptations. Claustrophobic, but
and I think if you're looking at, and I would include Angels in America in this list. I mean, you can't handicap it because you can't make a film out of that, right? I mean, that's just, it has to be a limited series. You can't cut material out of that show to make it into a 3-hour film for cinemas. So I think very few people understood how to direct in both mediums, as well as Mike Nichols.
Oh. Yeah.
Such a loss.
God, yeah.
I would add, and I know many people cringe at this, but I just have, and part of this is a special connection that I have to it from watching it as a child, but I would add Oliver. I think, I mean, I know the show, people don't like the show, but I think the movie is an incredible adaptation of that show. But maybe I'm the only one.
No, actually, it's funny. I was never an Oliver fan, and recently I got it on 4K, and kind of winced and said, "All right, let's just do this." It's actually really dark and really good, like really good. I've
never seen it.
You've never seen
it
the film?
if you get a chance.
Mm-mm.
Oh wow!
I don't know how.
The way, Frank, the way that he handles Nancy's, the story though, Joey.
Yeah,
I've seen the stage show. Yeah,
the way that he handles Nancy's death was so haunting to me as an 8-year-old child watching this at home with our cable. I just was like, I would ask my mom, I'd be like, she lived, right? She's okay, right?
Yeah.
I remember when I saw the stage show, and when Nancy dies, the way that it was, I don't know if this is always staged like this, but he's like up on like not a balcony, but he's up on a higher level, and he's just, striking his cane. Like you can't see her, but like he's, beating whatever. And I remember being like, I turned to my friend who was with me. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know this was going to happen. I was very upset.
It's a great film. I think it's a great film.
And speaking, let's talk about how great Shani Wallace is in that movie.
The fact that she wasn't nominated for an Oscar still, I don't understand that. She, like, when she sings Papa, and you cannot take your eyes off of her, which is the intent of the moment.
Yeah.
Right. She has to be hypnotic at that moment. She is fantastic. And Jack Wilder played the Artful Dodger. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, it's Joe, you really should see that. It is.
I should see.
It is. I think it's really special. I watch it almost every year or so.
If I could just shout out that I was always a big Shakespeare nerd too. Always. I think there's a lot of really good Shakespeare play movie adaptations. Like I really like the 2012 Much Ado About Nothing, the one that was in black and white. I really like the Branagh Hamlet. I really like there's a bunch that I really enjoyed. But every single version of Macbeth that there is. But yeah, another thing. Or Titus, Julie Taymor's Titus.
That's a brilliant film.
It's so good.
Film. Yes.
How is Jessica Lange not nominated? Oh my God.
She's so good in that movie.
Well, I just think people didn't understand what that play is. They don't understand that. That's probably my favorite Shakespeare play, believe it or not. And just because it's so underrated and so wild and crazy, and the way that she visualizes things like Titus's daughter, what happens to her, and how it's visualized through the red ribbons. It's amazing. It's amazing.
The wacky mind of Julie Taymor. Ugh.
Yes. I love Roman Polanski's Macbeth. That is a very dark and disturbing film. But I think it's great.
Yeah, I agree.
I was not a fan of the recent Macbeth.
The Coen brothers.
Yes. Because I think that Frances McDormand was not well cast as Lady Macbeth. Just my personal opinion.
I like the Fassbender one. The Fassbender Marion Cotillard.
The Game of Thronesification of Macbeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is something that was missing from this, and I haven't asked him about that, was Shakespeare adaptations, obviously. But,
hello, nobody remember the 2002 adaptation of Othello just called O.
My God.
Is that the one with Julia?
Yeah, Julia Stiles.
Yeah.
That's That's my favorite Shakespeare tragedy, I think.
I love the Kenneth Branagh Much Ado About Nothing.
That's good too. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
It is. It is fun. That's not a deep play, but it is fun.
Who did As You Like It? Well, that was
all right.
Branagh.
Very good. Well, I'm sure everybody has their own opinions. Everybody has their own lists. And as we've mentioned before, we're not putting Mark down at all for his take on things. But I just wanted to give us a little space here to add our own titles.
Nice.
Very good. So let's wrap with the flash forward to the media that we are most anticipating in the upcoming week. And Frank, we usually have guests to this. What are you looking forward to watching, reading, listening to, consuming in any shape or form over this upcoming week?
This coming week, well, tonight I'll be watching the last episode of season 3 of The Gilded Age, and I can't wait. Also, Dexter Resurrection. Looking forward to kind of diving into that. And on the stage, I see Call Me Izzy on the 11th with Gene Smart.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that. But the thing I'm looking forward to the most, can anyone guess? Let's see. I alluded to it earlier. That's right. Tomorrow night. I can't wait. I might even dress. I'm the kind of person who schleps to the theater. I might even get dressed up.
There we go. Joey, what about you?
This week is Pride in Columbus. It is the second, not to toot the Columbus horn, but it is the second biggest Pride in the Midwest. I think it's like it rivals Chicago. I don't know like how serious that is, but there's almost like, I think they said in the last couple of years, like over 750,000 people come to Pride in Columbus every year. So I'm excited to go to like the parade, and there's they keep billing it as a satirical Twink of the Year pageant that like when they released it, they were just like, all these people were like, that's horrible and it sounds really bad. And like, it's a joke. So I guess we're going to that. But I also have a screener for that Julianne Moore movie that I'm super excited about, Echo Valley. I have not seen anything, like any movies in like a solid month. I haven't seen like Phoenician Scheme or Mission Impossible or even Lilo and Stitch. I haven't seen any of that. So I was hoping to maybe Friendship. I was hoping to maybe catch up on a film, tall order, but a film for me. But that's it.
Well, you can, if I have a recommendation, one of those you can put to the bottom, the way bottom. You know which one it is. Yeah.
Hana means family.
And I consider you part of my family, but so that's why I'm telling you to stay home for that one.
Wait, which one should he ignore?
Lilo.
Oh, okay. I was planning on ignoring that anyway. So.
The $1 billion grossing live action film, and people keep saying, why does Disney keep making these horrible movies? Well, because they keep making billions of dollars, except for Snow White. Because there are only so much, there's only so much pain that human beings can be put through voluntarily. Truly terrible movie. All right. So film wise, I was supposed to go see How to Train Your Dragon last week, but I opted not to. Speaking of live action adaptations, So I think on Father's Day, which is a Sunday, I will take my daughter and a friend of hers to go see it in the theater with a paying crowd. There's another Apple movie that's like a knockoff of The National Treasure, which itself was a knockoff of Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's called The Fountain of Youth, and it has like Natalie Portman and John Krasinski, I think, maybe.
Yeah.
Dying to see that. It's been out for a while, but I'm going to make time for myself to see that. TV wise, we finished The Perfect Couple. Joey, you and I are going to have to talk.
I loved it.
It's so campy, but it's like, it's fun bad.
Yeah,
to me, it's
fun bad.
Like, I never posted my top 10 list because I got so busy with like shorts content on the site. It was literally going to be my number 10 slot, knowing that it is like absolute, like we're reaching pinnacle beachy mystery trash. Like, I mean that.
The book is beach mystery trash. But I like the book. But this and maybe this is, neither one of you have probably read the book, but the show leaves out so much of the book and just changes it to manufacture this weird murder mystery that doesn't really exist in the book. And it's just, I mean, it is a part of the plot, but it's not the way the plot is hung. And it's just didn't work for me because I'd read the book. Maybe if I hadn't read the book, I'd like it more. But we finished that, so we're going to start The Pit, I think. Everybody's favorite drama. Yep. Which is, for some reason everything has gone radio silent on the White Lotus. I don't know why, but occasionally I'll get an Instagram reel of somebody trying to approximate Parker Posey's accent, but feeling more like The Pit and Severance now as the final two contenders for drama series. But we'll talk about that later. But I need to catch up on The Pit, and I am continuing my read of A Song of Fire and Ice, and I am into A Clash of Kings, book 2 of the Game of Thrones series. All right. Nice. Does that cover it?
Yeah.
All right. Let's get the hell out of here. So we are the 2M's contributors, Joey Moser and me, Clarence Moy, plus special guest, Frank J. Avella. Thanking you for joining us, asking you to remember to rate us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you find us, and wishing you a very pleasant tomorrow.